Welcome, everybody, to round number three of our last
Woo.
weekly.
Oh, we see some Pokemon cards in play already. I'm very excited.
Very excited. Um, my name is Gereon. I am joined today by Pokemon fan number one, Nemi.
Hey, what's up? It's me, Nemi.
So on the left, we see myself on an artifact prison list, and on the
Hmm.
right, we see Micha on Simic Merfolk.
Yeah,
So
both slightly different in terms of deck philosophy. I'm sure we'll get you to talk about this prison list just for hours on end in a
yes,
minute.
but I'm
But
curious.
on the
Can you tell
other,
us a bit about the Merfolk list?
yeah, so this is a list that I believe Micha borrowed from Benjamin, who you
Yes.
saw earlier with his Oops All Spells deck. Always turns up with a bag full of probably 20 decks and then sees who his round one opponent is, makes a wise choice on what to play. I don't know, that's just conjecture. But this Merfolk list is one of his, and it's kind of like so it's a tribal. I guess is the old name. Kindred, I think, is the new name.
Sure.
Strategy, just playing as many Merfolk as are viable. There's a bunch of lords that buff other Merfolk. Most Merfolk are like rather cheap blue, sometimes green creatures that maybe give you some tempo advantage. This is kind of like it's. I would call it a tempo deck to be honest, because
Yeah,
you're very
yeah.
much trying to get under your opponent and just like stifle them a bit. And you have stuff like Curse Catcher that you sack to slow them down and get in for the right amount of damage as Micha rolls double ones.
That one's
And I
beautiful.
guess you weren't playing Mexian.
We
Um,
weren't.
yeah, but it's like a synergy-based tempo aggro archetype that tries to flood the board with a bunch of Merfolk and then buff them up with a Merfolk Lord.
Yeah, it creates these interesting board states where it has like three one-ones that are just sitting around, and you're like, oh, that's cool. I have like five more turns, and then suddenly they activate Everpile in your end step and put a Lord into play, and on their turn play a Lord, and suddenly you're facing 15 damage, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess I'm
Cool.
just
Yeah.
dead then, huh?
Now that
So
is a man who's trying to show his hand.
I'm
The
trying to
glare
show my
makes
hand.
it impossible.
Super glare.
I would also like to. Sorry, it's very
Please.
important during editing. My attention was directed a lot towards this egg that Gereon is currently cracking, despite not being on Second Sunrise today. This egg will feature prominently in this episode and is perhaps the emotional support egg that Gereon brought with
It
him on
was
this
my
journey.
it was my emotional support egg, certainly. Because
Also,
yeah.
apologies to Mana Games already for all of the eggshell that landed on the playmat. What were you gonna say?
Yes. I also want to point out my other emotional support stuff, which is on my left-hand side.
Oh yeah.
We see two cards that I pulled out my deck. These are my tutor lists because I just recently had built this deck. I brought it to my first tournament this day, and it is very tutor heavy with very different tutors finding very different cards, and these different cards are different for each circumstance. So it was really helpful for me to like have them all written down, have them all sorted.
I think that's really smart.
And well, I'm not on eggs per se, but I'm still on artifacts. Uh,
Yeah, maybe you want to give us a bit of insight into your list. Artifact Prison, what is that, and why do I hate it?
so Artifact Prison is a deck that tries to um, it tries to devalue your opponent's cards before they even play them, while at the same time attacking their mana base. So Prism comes from, or it used to be called Stacks. It comes from the card Smokestacks, a card
Yeah,
that slowly strips everybody away from all their resources. It plays cards like Ensnaring Bridge, which lets players not attack. It plays cards like Winter Orb, which lets players not untap their lands. And
disgusting.
in general, it wants to develop a board state where neither player really is able to play any cards, which slows down any progress your opponent can do because their deck is not built for this kind of board state. Well, your deck is able to do some stuff. Like, for example, have cards in play that generate board state or generate value on each upkeep. Or if you play cards
Yes,
like
that's right.
Trinisphere, a card that says all magic cards cost 3 to play at least, and your opponent maybe um, doesn't have enough mana to play anything, you can generate tokens with your Retrofitters Foundry.
Sure. Yeah.
So the deck tries to find the correct lock for your opponent's deck, which is quite difficult because each deck plays different, has different win conditions. And then once you've assembled that lock, you try to find something to not have your opponent escape that lock. And in my deck, in this configuration, that quote unquote win condition is Lantern Control.
Lantern. Wow, that
So,
haven't heard that one in a long time. Do
so
you want to break down for us what that is?
as I'm trying to break down this eggshell, a lantern is a card that says each player plays with the top of their card, with the top card of the deck revealed, and so that gives each player information what they're going to draw next. And me, as the Artifact Prison player, I combine that with cards that mill your opponent for just one card, so that I can control what kind of cards they will draw next. And let's say I have assembled a lock that that prevents them from attacking me with Ensnaring Bridge. And so my win condition is um, having them never draw a card that deals with Ensnaring Bridge.
I know that your win condition is prevent my opponent from preventing me from preventing them.
Yes, exactly. Um, so we're getting into so just the idea here is to have my opponent really never play Magic again, at least in this
I
round.
believe your deck name for this deck is Misery Machine on Moxfield.
Exactly.
Yeah. As we get to see an Imperial Seal,
Mhm.
I think I already saw a Trinisphere in your hand actually at the start of
Yes.
this game. So this Imperial Seal, I imagine, is going to be finding something that is able to quickly power out this Trinisphere. Micha, currently on 0 lands, has not had a turn yet, but
Yes.
will have a tough
Really,
time
really
resolving spells
important
this match,
to
I
note here
feel.
is that this hand that I kept was a one-lander. It had the fetch land, an Imperial Seal, and a Twin Sphere.
Gotcha.
And so what I'm Imperial Sealing here for is one of the most busted cards in this deck, which is Mishra's Workshop. Mishra's Workshop,
Gotcha.
a card that taps for 3 mana, only for artifacts, but that is going to enable some really busted shit.
I mean, that's the kind of things you need to get out of your own stacks, as Micha lays down a Curse Catcher here, and it looks like you actually went for an
Ah,
Ancient Tomb.
yeah, I went for Ancient
Um,
Tomb.
but yeah, similar idea. It's a land that taps for more than one. And we have now the triple balls in play, the Trinisphere,
Hmm.
which says that any spell that you try to cast, if you would pay less than 3 mana for it, you gotta pay at least 3. So that's a lot of tax that gets added to, as we were talking about, a bunch of Merfolk, which for the most part you play a bunch of 1/1s and you play a bunch of 1 mana and 2 mana creatures, which is gonna be difficult to do with this Trinisphere kind of keeping you down. And we see already here Micha does not get to develop a second threat or do anything relevant with his turn 2.
Yeah,
He just has this little curse catcher that's getting in for 1 every turn.
big discussions. I think it's about what does Tunisia actually do, because it is a weird magic card. Because it doesn't
Yeah,
add an
layers,
additional.
right?
Yes, it doesn't add additional mana costs. Um, it it kind of just makes things at least this expensive. So
As
you
far as I know, it's like the last check
exactly.
before you pay for the spell is all this mana that you've tapped for the spell, is that 3 or more?
There is
And
a
if
Twin Sphere
not,
specific layer in the Magic Rules
yeah, the
book,
Trini layer.
a Trini layer. So let's.
So,
Mhm.
yeah, you deciding to take 2 damage here to develop this Azorius Signet again with this Ancient Tomb, just putting more mana in play, getting dinked for 1 by this Curse Catcher, and no third land for Micha. That's huge against this Trinisphere. That's really rough.
I mean, basically means like until Micha finds a third land, it's just not going to be magic. It's just I'm going to be hit for one every turn. But yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
you have a lot of time to peel this egg here, as he can just tap you for one, say go, and you by now have, what is that, 6 mana in play, untapping with 6 mana,
Hmm.
and get to develop your next play here. Looks like that's going to be some creature or artifact from the way that your board is looking like. Is
Exactly.
that a prismatic ending I see in your hand that you're thinking about casting for 3 here? Wow. On the curse
Exactly.
catch. Reducing the clock by
10 turns.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Because like you gotta understand that I don't have a complete lock until Micha actually has no like threat anymore. Now the
Yeah,
lock
yeah,
is
you
complete. Now I can just forever like sit here and wait for Micha to concede. Which
and work your
I
way
do want to
towards
point
probably
out.
something like a Ravages of War, which takes out the last 2 lands he has. What do you
Um,
want to point out?
you can concede at any time.
You can concede at any time, but there's always that sliver of hope that maybe, you find that land and you play that card, and oh god, there's one of the biggest villains in the multiverse. It's Urza, Lord High Artificer. Gets to
So
make a giant construct?
indeed, usually these games take way longer. In this context, I get my Urza down, and the Urza can punch. Not really what the deck is trying to achieve, but it's like fine to also win with damage.
Yeah, I mean, for you, this is like a spicy little treat, right? That you get to take a creature and actually turn it sideways for damage.
Hmm.
Uh,
There's also I want to mention a spicy little treat. Trinisphere says as long as it is um, untapped. So right now I'm playing my very well proxied Mystical Tutor.
no,
He's
is it
like
one of those old, like it's a
exactly. It's so okay.
really? I
So
thought it's
so I
I thought
can
it's a newer card than that. Okay, but you have to explain what you're talking about now,
so
as you also resolve this mystical
so
tutor.
why can I play Mystical Tutor for one with Trinisphere in play? The joke is that Trinisphere is an old card, and old cards had this weird thing that if they were tapped, they don't work anymore. So the actual text of
Yes,
Trinisphere is as long as Trinisphere is untapped, everything costs 3. Urza lets me
incredible.
tap my artifacts for mana. So I can tap the Trinisphere in Micha's end step in order
Wombo
to.
combo. Holy.
Exactly. And so I'm getting to find a tutor, put it on top of my deck, a tutor for a different tutor.
Wargate.
Wargate. What is Wargate going to find me? Is it going to be a fun
Um,
card? A nice
I
card?
mean it's a 0 mana card, so you could be like on some Zernorb stuff, but I think at this point you just probably get a Wasteland and take him off his 1 mana,
Now that'd be really
2 mana
mean,
that he
wouldn't
has.
it?
I don't know, like I guess Mox Opal for more mana, but you don't need mana. No, I
No,
think it's
it's
the
the
yeah, there
Wasteland.
is the Wasteland. Oh my god, truly just beating down on Micha here, who to I don't know whether his credit or discredit has not conceded yet. Thinks that he will dig himself out of this position,
Uh-huh.
although it is the deck is stacked against him as you get to also resolve a fabricate. Wow, what else do you want?
So, I mean, right now I'm just doing game actions, kind of.
Hmm.
I'm
I
not
do
sure what the
think like
conclusion is.
um he's maybe just trying to see that you have the mana for
Yeah,
this.
yeah, whatever.
Funnily, if you had a strip mine, you probably wouldn't want to use it because it turns off your Felwar Stone. Of course, legal in European Highlander, but funny nonetheless. Yeah, I think like this game looks well and truly over with you just being in such a strong position, and there's the Crucible to keep replaying Wasteland in case Micha ever had any hopes of finding a second and then third land again.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think
at this
something
point, I want to
in
say
terms of
unban
yeah.
strip mine.
I, I do think that one is like a bit interesting to think about.
I don't think we should unban strip mine. I really don't think so.
Probably not, no.
I think okay, so this game is truly very much over. Um, there is really not really a combination of draws for Micha to find, especially as I'm swinging with this five with these six powers.
Yeah.
I there
And
is
like
a
even if
mm,
he does get up to 3 mana somehow with basic, then what is he gonna do? Like play some 2/2 that your construct just wails past.
exactly.
But he is making you play it out.
So in the meantime, as like he's now giving me time to crack this egg, this is also a moment of me not having eaten again before the tournament. So I was
Beautiful.
direly hoping for this round three or match three egg to help me a little bit. Um,
Were you like hoping for the buy?
no, not even. No, I love playing Magic, so I don't want the buy, but I did want to eat that egg.
Yeah,
And
understandable.
so I'd hope that I can just slot down, a Winter Orb or whatever, and make my opponent really consider their plays, so that I could
Right.
sit there and crack my egg. But
So
instead,
this deck choice was a strategic one to allow you to feed yourself.
rigged.
Nice. Yeah, I guess if you're on, Team Blitz or something, one of your more aggressive decks, then you don't have that amount of time. And yeah, the game
Right.
game is over. The game has been over for what feels like 10 turns. But Micha, braving it out against Artifact Prison here. What do you think he's looking for in this game two here to hopefully try and take you down?
So I want to say in preparation for what's coming next, I wanted to mention that I was on an empty stomach because it's gonna get quite messy.
Am I hearing Johns ahead of time? Is that what this is?
No. Oh, are you hearing John's end of time? Yes, I am pre-Johnning. That's
All
actually
right,
true.
beautiful. We need some pre-Johns.
No, so I mean, what Micha's looking for is both an early threat and some sort of um, disruption for what I'm doing here.
Right, yeah.
So if Micha is able to disrupt any of my stuff coming down, like a daze, um, or like a um, yeah, um, something that like maybe even interacts with my mana, like
Sure, yeah.
the Rishidan port or the Wasteland of
Is he
himself.
on Rishi P?
I wonder. I'm not sure,
No, no, no
but
Rishi P.
I know that
Sad.
if you're on Ethervile, you probably are on the Rishidan port.
That's right, yeah. Ethervile, of course, a very relevant card for this Merfolk deck, and hopefully one that, if Micha could decide what is in his starting hand, I think Ethervile would be one of those picks every single time in every single
Every
matchup
time.
almost. It's just and if it comes up, we'll see it. But it's a card that allows you to put in a creature without paying the mana for it every turn.
Indeed, it basically allows you to double spell every single turn. And so that's something like he really wants to develop a board quite quickly, put me under a lot of pressure, and then force me to find an answer to his board as opposed to finding a lock piece in order to lock him out, so that I need to deal with his board. And then if he then is even able to interact with me there, stopping me from interacting with his board, he's in a really
Yeah,
good spot.
yeah.
Hmm.
If you get to Etherval that creature in, then that also lets you leave up that force spike or what have you to spike that Trinisphere. Although the Ethervile itself also just kind of bypasses Trinisphere to begin with if you get to play it early enough.
Yeah,
And yeah, the play draw is probably huge in this matchup as well. Like for Prison specifically, I mean it's huge in every matchup, but like Prison, the difference between getting to go first and putting that Trinisphere out on your turn two
yeah,
versus them having had their turn two and then you put it out,
yeah.
I assume that adds or subtracts a significant amount of
It's super
percentage
massive,
points.
super massive.
Yeah.
Like against tempo specifically. I think against other decks it might be less relevant because the lock pieces are different. But even like the
Yeah,
other
like against mid range or something,
yeah,
it's like the game is not going to be over that quickly.
But think also about Sphere of Resistance, a card that makes every card cost one more. If your opponent already
Sphere
was able
of
to deploy that
Resistance.
threat, that card is like really not that impactful anymore. There is the Ethervial. So, Nemi, tell us about Ethervial.
Yep, so Ethervile, one of the most mistriggered cards probably of all time. This one at the beginning of your upkeep,
Miss
you
Trigger.
can't put a charge counter on it. Missed trigger. He's gonna draw, but we're friendly over
Yeah.
here. And then you can tap it to put a creature card with CMC equal to the number of charge counters on Ethervale from your hand into play. So you play it turn one. Technically, you could tap it for a 0 drop. In your next upkeep, you can tick it up to one. Then you can put in a 1 drop. Then your next upkeep, you can take it up to 2. Then you can tap it, put in a 2 drop, and then you can kind of decide what number you leave it on. But Micha, I don't know if he has read this as file. You can activate it on your opponent's end step. Don't have to put this creature in right now, but it looks like he's just deploying two 1/1s, one with the Ether Vial and one with the Island, tapping for retail for that one. And we've got two Merfolk. One of them I think a 1/1 and the other is a 2/2 already, and then a Gitaxian Pro.
Okay,
So
well, let's
huge turn from
see
him
what we
here.
got there.
That's a balance. Okay,
That's a balance.
that one is an immediate yikes. As the Merfolk player, terrifying. Basically a one-sided board wipe in this matchup.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So,
also able to provide some land destruction. But Micha, massive tempo advantage here already. He's played 4 spells and you haven't played a single one yet.
also, we finally cracked through the eggshell.
We have finally
Yummy!
arrived at the egg.
Yummy, yummy, yummy.
I see that you also have a Laugenbrötchen over there.
I do
Very
have a.
nice.
Oh, shoutouts to Micha. Micha recognized that I was hungry and offered his own Laugenbrötchen and his own Veganer Schnittlauch.
Holy, now
Um,
GG's to Micha. We got. Should we? Do we have like awards that we can give out?
for
But
for big GGs. Big.
dude, stand up guy, by the way.
Absolutely.
Like everybody that we play with, it's we're a friendly little community here, and it's super lovely to see everybody come out. Usually on Wednesdays, and I know the scene also meets on Fridays, Saturdays, on the other end of Berlin
Hmm.
to come and jam some Highlander. But yeah, Micha also one of the people who's going to be going to Erfurt
Yep.
for the upcoming tournament, which might have happened by the time this video comes out. But yeah, just a super lovely supportive scene. He
Yeah.
gives you his Brötchen and Schnittlauch, and I give him my Red Egg Wins cards that he's lacking for the tournament list.
Nice.
As you get to develop this Grim Monolith here, I saw you thinking about this Talisman of Dominance that you have in hand to make more
Correct.
mana, thinking about this balance, but probably too early to pull the trigger on balance.
Yes.
Micha putting in another 1/1 and then taking up the Ether Vial on his turn,
Correct.
which is just, this is a 1/1 flying. Incredible.
Yes.
Getting in there for a 3.
For two right
And
now
do we
because
have a second land for Micha? Nope, we do not. This Ether Vial is still the main game plan for developing threats. So if you can find like a prismatic ending for the Ether Vial and then develop this balance, that looks to be it as far as I can tell. Are you thinking about a Chalice of the Void
yeah,
on one
I'm
maybe?
thinking about a Chalice on one, but it's such a weird card in this matchup. He already has all of the 1/1s for one in
If you
play.
didn't have the Ether Vial, this would probably be a pretty snap decision from you, but the Ether Vial circumvents it so well.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would have in this matchup probably would have tried for a Chalice on two, just because of all the Lords being mostly on 2 mana. Um, but I think I end up just playing the Bottled Cloister. So Bottled Cloister, that's a four mana artifact that says at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, remove your hand from the
Ah!
game face down.
Yep,
So
sounds great. Why would I
by
do that?
and then at the beginning of your upkeep, return all cards removed from the game with Bottled Cloister to your hand, then you draw a card. So it's like a really really bad Phyrexian Arena. It lets you draw a
I was
card.
thinking this is like coercive portal, but just without the second mode. And
Yeah.
it's a coercive portal that makes your hand Thoughtseize proof. Wow, what a card.
But
Bottle
so
Cloister.
so the idea here is it's not only making your hand Nazis proof, it also works well with Ensnaring Bridge. Ensnaring Bridge, a card that says you
Gotcha,
cannot
okay.
creatures cannot attack if their power is greater than the cards in your hand.
This
Bottle
is the kind
Cloister.
of tech that you gotta go on Moxfield and start scrolling for if you don't already have it deep in your brain, which to be honest you probably do, right?
Bottle Cloister, classic. The
Okay,
funny
but
thing, though, quote unquote
huge
funny,
card.
is if somebody bounces your Bottle Cloister while your hand is exiled, you
No,
never get that hand back.
no, dude, you're playing that? What? That's crazy. Oh my god.
It's really so. I've since then cut it because I've played it against a Teferi.
Yeah,
Turns out
I
very
understand. Oh
it's
my god.
you just
Okay, I'm sorry, I have to cut you off. We have a Harbinger of the Seas in play, which turns all of those lands that you have into islands,
mhm.
taking you off
White.
three of the five colors of mana that you have. But you do have the expedition map, so
Uh-huh.
could go get a basic.
If I had any
Um,
basics in my deck, yes.
oh, zero basics.
Zero basics.
No white for this balance. That's rough.
Yeah, so I'm right now. I'm
So,
really having a hard time deciding what exactly I'm getting. I here realize I don't have a basic in my hand, in my deck, so I'm like, what am I even getting? They're all gonna be islands
yeah,
anyways.
the
Um,
play seemed like very much you crack this expedition map for two, you get the basic planes, and then you can balance on this turn. I mean,
yeah, but
huge
instead,
tempo swing there, but
nope. So I have a spell guide in hand. Um, and like I'm not like all of these guys are going to just slowly take away on my life total because there is no what you call it, no Lord in play yet. But there is also Reshape in my hand. A Reshape, a card that lets me sacrifice any artifact and get another artifact.
yeah.
Instead of reshaping, though, I do play my Spells Guide. Sorry, let me organize my thoughts. The reshape, I could only play because all of my cards are islands. I otherwise wouldn't have had any
Oh right.
resources. The reshape would have been able to get me a Mox Opal, which would have been able to tap for white, and I could have balanced this turn.
Okay, but
Instead,
deciding not to do that.
instead, I play my Spells Guide in order to, um, like
There's
draw it out a little bit more. I think that this was a huge mistake on my part. I think I
I
should have.
remember watching this in the edit as well and thinking like, okay, I really would have balanced this turn, but then I didn't see the reshape for Opaline. I thought you just didn't have the basic.
Yeah, I didn't have the basic, but I think I had the line to balance there. I think playing the spell guide in order to like just draw out Micha's stuff a little bit more was my thought here. But I think, especially because balancing would have also killed two of my lands. And
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, it unlocks your colors again though, which I think is also something that is clearly a limiting factor for you now. At this point, it feels like you have to probably get this Mox Opal,
that's what's happening here.
because you can't balance right now. You could, I guess, also reshape for like an ensnaring bridge, and then because of the bottled cloister, you'd be immune.
Hmm. Oh, that's also a line that I could have taken here. That's true. Ah, yeah. So that's why, like, before we talked about this, I was really like reluctant to also commentate this match because I just remember how loosey goosey I played this
Yeah.
because after this tournament I went home and it was like I think I went 0-3 I think in total. Maybe.
Unusual finish for you. Yeah, you're usually up there, um, beating people with some rogue brew.
Thank you. But like there I really was like wow I this was such a complex deck and I played it quite bad. And here we see one example. I think that Ensnaring Bridge is a great target that I could have gone here for. I could have even sacked my Spells Guide here for the reshape in order to then get
Yeah.
my.
Oh, you don't? Oh,
No, I
okay.
sacked my Grim Monolith,
Okay.
which was tapped anyways, right? So
Yeah, but it's not like a mana vault which does damage to you.
yeah,
I don't know. I guess if you're gonna balance, then you are probably not untapping it, but it feels like getting that extra creature off the board is gonna be rather impactful,
yeah,
as now you're giving Micha the choice with this balance of keeping either a lord or this harbinger.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can like definitely see why, you rewatching this game is a bit uncomfortable and painful, but it's also a great opportunity to learn. And as far as
Exactly.
I can tell, you came back the next weekly, or
On the
you played
Saturday.
this weekend, right?
Yeah.
And you did a lot better with
Yeah.
it. So,
I went.
especially with like a complex deck list like this, you introduced it as well with like, hey, I have my list of what to tutor for here next to me because it's just so complex I couldn't possibly remember it
Yeah.
all. I think, getting reps in with the deck to get better, totally legit, and then rewatching, that's how you learn.
Here I now finally play the Chalice on Zero because I also got with Mox Opal, that was the big card that I would like to not chalice myself from.
Right, and now
But
you have the chalice in there to prevent like a force or a daze or
exactly.
something. But yeah,
And
he gets to keep the harbinger now, which your spellskite does block for the time being.
correct. And so I am on one card. He's on one card, and I have a blocker for his guy, and so I feel very hopeful in this situation. I get to crack my expedition map, get a card, and then I get to play my
You get
Crucible.
to get an island.
I don't have any basic. I mean, yes, I get to get an island indeed.
Yeah, and we see the crucible allowing you to replay the lands that hit the bin. So a beautiful island there
Beautiful
worth a
island there.
couple of hundred euros, I believe, if
Yes.
that was real.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, it's kind of a staring match at this moment to see who finds something first, and that's a Mirror Readery getting to
Yes.
buff up the Harbinger, and now you're starting to sweat again because you're on 6 life,
Yeah.
and yeah, you can block this 3/3 Harbinger now, but you're taking 2 every turn from this Readery until you
Exactly.
find something else, so definitely a tough spot, and I think kind of maybe a reason why some people, weaker people than you, shy away from this prison archetype because it's very much a deck that relies on your opponent not being able to get there, and
Yeah.
sometimes they do. And I think being in a spot where you're kind of hoping that your Merfolk opponent, who's probably on like 50 fucking creatures, doesn't hit a second creature that's gonna threaten you is also a rough spot to be in.
I draw another beautiful island, which would have been so good if that wasn't an island. Tabernacle, the Purple Veil, which is a
The knack,
land,
yeah.
a truly land that exists. A card that says each creature has at the beginning of your upkeep, pay one or sacrifice this creature.
Yeah, that was pretty good against a Merfolk deck that still hasn't found its second land.
But
Like,
sadly,
okay,
it's also an
yeah, also an island. I need to check. He's on 29 lands. That seems very reasonable to me, to be honest. But
yeah.
like at this point, variance-wise, he should have found the second one. Now we got the Spellskite blocking the Harbinger. You take 2, and
And now it's just like I need to find anything to deal with his creature
yeah,
there. But
you're also super low on creatures yourself, right?
yeah,
Like it's not like you're gonna put a blocker in play.
no,
This is the spot where um, the ensnaring bridge would have been really good if you had reshaped for it. And you really made me look up some cards with this static orb to find that stupid picture. I was like, what is this card? Is it some weird Tanglewire art? No.
no, static orb, a card that lets you only untap two permanents, like total, in your untap.
Great. That's
Great
awesome.
indeed. So let's see what Micha has here. Is it a hull breacher? It is a hull
Hull
breacher.
Breacher.
And now it's basically like he's looking at his options, looking at the things he can do, and the things he can do is smack my face.
As my phone lights up with notifications.
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like it's like Terminus or something like that, or bust for you
Oh,
here.
wanna.
Um, You do have the redraw with the Mystic Forge,
Mhm.
although it costs you a life. Very painful.
I'm exiling land here.
Yeah. And then
I
just
also have two
hoping that
draws.
this card gets here. Yeah, you do have the Bottled Cloister redraw. Trust me, like, you made me look up some cards for this one. that Spellskite artwork, the Bottle Cloister, the
Yeah,
Static Orb,
let's group it up. Didn't find
and
an
then
answer.
yeah, the Ice Cream Scoop here. Rough.
So this is truly like both. I think this was really on the reshape. Um,
Yeah, like that decision to go for the Spellskite first of all, and then the reshape for the Opal.
yeah,
I can like obviously we can reconstruct why you made that decision, right? We have the bird's eye view now of
yeah,
being able to think about it soberly and talk about lines. But when and we also maybe should mention at this point most other people I think were done with their game. So
yes,
you have like 8 guys watching you on your first time piloting this prison list,
yes,
and so it's kind of like the spotlight on you. Totally fair to make some. I wouldn't even call it a misplay. Like just you, there was maybe the option for a more optimal play, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, right. Live and learn. I think it was a really interesting game for sure. I really
Yeah,
that's why
definitely.
that's why I like really I really enjoy playing this deck, and I probably to the chagrin of many people, I will be probably on this for a little bit, and because it is such an interesting
Great.
interesting deck to pilot. Um, it's really like it's really you create a puzzle for both you and your opponent to really kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
put
yeah.
your brain to and figure out how can I get through this. And this is something that I think other decks just are not able to do. It really creates these like um, brain melting scenarios where you really have to think 4 turns ahead. Um, and I really appreciate that. I really like that.
Yeah, yeah. I think that really resonates with your player type of
Yeah,
build something cool out of what did you say? I think on the finals podcast that we had, you want to see somebody build a gun out of Legos.
exactly.
Um, yeah. I mean,
Channel.
and this game I think also showed the strength of the Aether Vial that we were talking about very clearly.
Yes.
That is what carried Micha to the victory, right? He had the turn one vial, didn't see another land that entire game, but didn't need one because that Aether Vial just put like 6 or 7 creatures into play over the course of the match. Although I will elect to remind him in the future that he can just do that at instant speed. He, I think, always vialed them in just on his pre-combat main phase.
Indeed. Um, yeah, Elevile, just beautiful, beautiful card. There's a reason for why both any Merfolk list that is usually on as many creatures as possible plays a card that is so very much not a creature.
Yeah, and like I think especially in 100 card singleton, the card has like a very different I don't know, power level
Yeah,
stable to it than it does in 60 card, where you can play 4 of it, like the old Death and Taxes or something. You basically mull any hand that doesn't have Aethervel, right? If you're talking about modern, as I think I go in there to
yeah.
turn on airplane mode to
Yes, so
pull
to
up
stop all
the
the
messages.
yeah, silence.
um, but yeah, like Aethervel in a 100 card format, whenever I thought about putting it in there, I'm like, but if I don't have it in my opening hand, it's so bad.
Yeah,
Like you
yeah.
don't want to draw Ethervile turn 6, or like even drawing it turn 3 feels garbage, kind of.
I think it's quite interesting in a control matchup because it circumvents counter spells so
Sure,
very
yeah,
well. But
that
even
is true.
then, you're like, okay, turn three, I'm going to play this. Turn four, I can put in a one. Okay, but we got a
Okay,
game.
Mox Diamond.
Starting off strong with a Mox Diamond and a Fetch Land, and pass because I think my play here will be Enlightened Tutor. Um, and
Right, Enlightened Tutor. What you getting?
in this context, probably Trinisphere. Probably looking for Trinisphere.
That's kind of like the number one tutor target for you
In this matchup, yes. In this
in this
matchup,
deck. In
uh,
this matchup, okay,
just
interesting.
because if I get to because Micha wants to play a bunch of cheap cards and a lot of them. And my win con here would be to first slow him down with the Trinisphere, and then
Yeah,
slowly mana deny him.
interesting.
Like there's also like there's other routes. I think you could have also gone with Wonder.
I mean, in terms of like you having strong turn 2 play, going for Trinisphere while you already have this Monk's Diamond in play, it looks like a great position to be in, especially if you also have access to just something else that is able to pump out mana for you, whether it's a Monolith,
mhm.
whether it's Mishra's Factory, Ancient Tomb, City of Traitors, just anything like that is going to be able to accelerate you. And it's still early enough in the game, and there's no Aether Val this game
Yeah,
that that might very well be good enough to get you there, right? It's like Prison is just creating this stranglehold where you don't necessarily have infinite slowdown, right?
yeah,
Like eventually they can draw those lands,
indeed.
they can develop those threats, they can work through your balance or what have you, but you're just making it take so long. And during all of that time, you're finding your Lantern plus Pyxis of Pandemonium,
That's
Codex
Mishra's
Shredder,
workshop.
and there's the Mishra's Factory.
Mishra's workshop. Factory is the
Sorry,
Madland.
yes, thank you. Mishra's Workshop. I guess sad that you didn't get to develop something else with the 2 mana before playing this factory.
That's fine.
Would have probably loved to see like a talisman or
Yeah,
something
yeah, indeed.
added to the board there as well, but still just dominant position. And Micha again not able to play anything on his turn 2 now because of this Trinisphere.
Indeed. So now that with the Trinisphere deployed, the next steps are like, okay, how do I find a way to generate some advantage here? Either by getting something like the Retrofitter Foundry, which lets me develop board stuff cheaply while Micha doesn't get to, or do I find maybe something like a Crucible of Worlds so that I can just deploy lands over and over and over again, putting me so far ahead in just ability of playing Magic and mana and stuff? Or
Yep.
do I find something that even goes harder in locking out Micha, even maybe with a Sphere of Resistance, maybe with a
Oh my
Wasteland, or
god. Oh wait, but Sphere of Resistance and Trinisphere
is that a
don't
non-bow?
interact in the way that you want them to,
Oh,
right?
right.
Like if something would cost 1, because Trinisphere is the last thing
Right,
that's
right, right, right,
applied,
right, 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 right. You're
it
right.
would still just cost 3.
You're right.
But yes.
So I'm in a really curious spot here because I got this Mishra's Factory, but that doesn't
Okay,
tap for a regular card. So I'm now
it
on
doesn't, yes.
um
Now you're on 3.
I'm on 3 mana, so now I can play Magic if I have non-artifact cards. Micha also now on 3.
Uncharacteristically finding his third land. This is here. You're probably like really sad to see this land hit the table, right?
Yes.
Before that, you were in a great position, and now you haven't been able to develop anything with
Yeah.
this at your own Trinisphere in play, or maybe just don't have anything relevant. And to just see him go up to 3 mana here, hit the Wog,
Hit the
um,
log.
which is also kind of a card that maybe I don't know. I don't want to say underplayed, but like a little slept on.
Okay, sorry. I don't want to. I
3
don't.
mana Field of
I
Dreams.
don't want to distract from the walk because it's a really fun card, but I also want to point out
Ah.
Field of Dreams, which is an enchant world. Um,
Mhm.
so if somebody else plays an enchant world, that will go away, but not many around these days. It says the top card of each player's library is always face up. So that's kind of one of the parts of finishing the lockout. It's like a alternative to Lantern of Insight, which we talked about earlier.
Yep.
But right now, just a dead card. The Walk, on the other hand, is a card that says whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, which with CMC smaller
Less than, yeah.
uh, than the power of the Wog, the Polywog,
Yep.
you get to draw a card, and it has
Yeah,
evolved.
and this one it evolves, so it grows whenever you play a creature with more power. Does make me wonder what the mono wog does, but the polywog definitely putting in work and is going to be up to. Wait, is it the amount of mana that you spend or the CMC? Because like under this Trinisphere, everything that you
CMC.
play is going to cost 3, but
Yes, it's the CMC.
okay.
So right now,
So
I'm on 3
Oh
mana.
right, you you were gonna play that, but then took it back because of the Wog.
Exactly. Because now the Warg
Draw the
lets him draw a
card.
card. I'm in a really
Yeah.
dumb spot because I got a Ravager's of War, or an Avant-Garde, I guess, and a Gifts Ungiven in hand, plus a Grafdigger's Cage. Grafdigger's Cage doing literally nothing against Micha. Ravager's of
Missing
War
the fourth
also
mana
not doing
for
anything
both
for
of
me.
those.
Gifts Ungiven would be an awesome card because it could find me answers. But I'm stuck on 3 lands. It's 3 lands that tap for regular mana as opposed to the Mishra's
Yeah, if
workshop.
that was an ancient tomb, you'd be in business, right?
Yeah.
But
But I'm at
going
10,
back to that
and I
interesting
will be
decision you made
attacked
here,
for what? A bajillion?
like 7, 6, something. Uh, yeah, like 7.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So this was also one of the games
Definitely
that made me
rough spot.
reconsider having Lantern in my deck.
That's right. Yeah, you've kind of like reshaped, if I may make a pun, the deck list to take out the Lantern package, which was kind of your inspiration for building it in the first place, right?
Correct.
Was
What's
you
that?
wanted to play Lantern Control Prison again, but now the Lantern package, which is like 8 cards or something,
Yeah.
is out to make room for what like you changed like 25 cards,
Yeah.
like Oath Atraxa, and you're on uh A plus B combo, right? And there's
And there's the
the scoop
concede.
from your side.
GG's to Micha.
As yeah, happy to get a win on Cam.
That was well played from his side. He indeed uh, put creatures on the board and hit me with them, and I could not manage to stop him.
Yeah, that's how
Especially
it
good
goes.
decision on his part to keep the mana Donal creature on board when I balanced.
Right in that second game, yeah.
Exactly. Because that was like I think that this was my match to lose. Because I was 1-0, and I think
Yeah, especially that second match, you were
yeah,
probably feeling like you were in such a good position up ahead with that balance to cast, and then
exactly.
kind of maneuvered your way into. I don't think it was a free win for you that you like threw, but
But
you
I,
could
I
have probably.
remember I remember the moment where I definitely felt like, oh, I got this,
Yeah, yeah.
which is the worst place. Like
That's when your mental takes a dive.
exactly, exactly. It's one of those things where I'm
Yeah.
also like, I really want to get better at Magic. Even though I've been playing this now for what, 20 years, I still need to keep my composure when I think I'm going to win. Because
Yep.
too many
I'm
times,
I'm right there with you.
right? Too many times you're like, oh, easy peasy, I can just do some loosey-goosey plays, do it quickly, get to the win quickly, because I got this anyways, and then you just lose. Because,
I think that's really interesting. I think I experience it from the other side of that, which is like, oh my god, I'm close to win, like don't fuck it up now. And then I like overanalyze everything,
hmm
and I get into this like
hmm
analysis paralysis spot where like if I just turn my creature sideways I win, but I'm like thinking of every line in which it could go wrong, and like I end up like outplaying myself.
yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really interesting spot to be in. Um, I I'm very glad for those games, because
Yep.
they taught me a lot about the deck. I'm really glad to see Micha have fun with a deck that isn't mono red, because usually he's on mono red, and I think it's very fun to
Yep.
see him on something else as well.
Micha Red.
Micha red. Um, so I'm very curious what we'll be seeing next weekly. And I'm very curious to see how the journey of prison is going to continue.
Yeah.
With that said,
Well, thank you so much for commentating with me. That was super fun.
thank you
And
yourself.
we'll be back hopefully soon with a new set of weeklies.
Indeed. Um, Thank you everybody for watching. We are Animate Bread, and we are looking
Woo!
forward. We're looking forward to seeing you next time.
Alrighty, bye.
Bye bye.